What's going on, YouTube? This is the SmallTown Collectibles YouTube channel, and I'm Jimmy Kerr. In today's interview, I sat down with Danielle, better known as the Nerdy Girl, and we had an absolutely great discussion. I really enjoyed talking to her. If you know who the Nerdy Girl is, she's a great follow on Instagram, and she has the sickest collection, like for real, of books and games and things like that. And I really enjoyed talking to her. You realize in that conversation what a great business sense she has, how much she really digs what she's doing, and it was phenomenal. Go check it out. This is 10 Questions with the Nerdy Girl. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on 10 Questions.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's just jump right in. The first question, and I know a lot of people I know I've wondered this. I wonder how different people come up with their handles, like, the names that they use. So how did you come up with the handle Nerdy Girl? Is it just that you're a girl and you like nerdy stuff, or is there a deeper meaning?
There's not a deeper meaning. I didn't even come up with it. People started calling me Nerdy Girl at conventions. Yeah. And I was like, people know me as this, so I might as well turn it into a little more.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I think that's great. As far as like small town, I said on one of the last interviews I did, the reason I call myself small town is because I literally live in and grew up in a town of 600 people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am small town, and I find it interesting. When I was in college, people would call me that, "Hey, small town," because they knew where I was from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense that you'd be at a convention. What's up, Nerdy Girl? And there you go. The name's born, right? All right. So question number 2. And I know that you don't necessarily read comic books, right? I know that you're a collector and you resell, you do things like that. But what who or what got you into collecting? And then what is it about like comic books and video games that kind of drew you in?
So I got into comics because when I met my boyfriend, he was like almost 20 years ago, he was selling comic books. And it was very foreign to me. I'd never heard of it before. You sell comic books for a job and you make money doing it. It was so weird to me. And then I got to go to San Diego Comic-Con and I started meeting some of the other dealers. And it's like, it's not just selling comic books. It's like this whole community of people. And it's like this secret society where once you're in, you're in. And then I started learning different artists. I started looking at covers and appreciating the art. Video games, I played video games and got down on some Nintendo. So when video games came into play, I was like, I have attachment to this. This is my childhood. So it was a lot easier for me to kind of want to learn from a personal side versus a monetary side.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I mean, it really does. As far as I know, I think I told you before we came on, I had an uncle who, the way I always describe him is he was like Mike Wolf on American Pickers. I mean, that was my uncle.
And, anywhere, anything.
I mean, and he would take me and we would dive into barns and dig, and he used to let me come with him. I loved it. It was so much fun. As far as, and I guess question 3, now question 3 and 4 came from my daughters. Okay. My daughters are fans. They're not really big comic book fans necessarily, but they know who you are because I've talked about you to them. So questions 3 and 4 are actually from my daughters. So question 3 is, do you have a favorite comic book character or a game that you just like to collect that, it stands out to you? Because I told them she doesn't necessarily read the comic book. She just digs the art. She digs, what they're about. And they wanted to know, was there somebody that you just love, that you like to collect?
So I'm a huge Captain America from the Golden Age fan. Because the Golden Age for me is so just gritty and dirty, and it's history more than anything. Like these old timelies especially were ways that it was like propaganda, war propaganda for what was coming and what was going on and what was going on overseas with Germany and everything else with Captain America and Hitler, of course. So I love Captain America from the Golden Age. And then Cap 1 is obviously one of my favorite books. And then Silver Age, I love Thor. Like, he's just so great. He's so mighty and strong and fearless, and those are like things that I want to embody. So I guess it resonates with me some. And then of course they turned Thor into a woman. So it was even better as the modern stuff came.
My mom likes Thor too, Danielle, but it's not because of the comic book. It's because of Liam Hemsworth. Yeah, and she also likes Aquaman now because of Jason Momoa, right?
Jason Momoa did great things to Aquaman. And then on video games, Super Mario Brothers 3 is my favorite video game of all time. So I collect that, and I collect a lot of pop culture when it comes to games. Like, in the video game world, old school collectors would consider the Nintendo World Championship like one of the holy grails. And it's just a cartridge that they got for competing in this competition. But not everyone got to play that. Super Mario Brothers 3, like, everyone got to play that game.
Right.
Mario Brothers 1, like, really opened the floodgates for like cartoon and really big character-based video games, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember Super Mario Brothers 3. I wasn't like a big gamer per se. I did play games, but I wasn't like a huge gamer. Like, my game was Mario Brothers, of course, and then Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Like, I thought that was the greatest game in the world.
Who's fighting tonight, by the way?
I know, right? Him and is that Roy Jones?
Jones, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's probably my evening. I think Kentucky plays football. We actually play Florida. Aren't you in Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky, we play Florida today in football. So actually at the Swamp. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go watch the Mike Tyson fight. So, all right, my daughter's other question, and this is question 4. Their other question was, is there a female comic book character that you relate to? Not so much necessarily in reading, but maybe visually, you know, or whatever. But is there a female comic book character that you relate to?
Oh, I love Black Widow. She's a bad. Are we allowed to say badass on this channel?
Yeah, absolutely. You're good. Bring it on.
Badass. She is fierce and fearless, and she is just self-trained goodness, and she will take you out in 2 seconds.
I love that so much. That's a great answer, and that is actually their favorite. Is Black Widow. They dig Black Widow for the same reason. Yeah, no, she's awesome. She's beautiful. She's smart. She will whip your ass in 2 seconds if you mess with her.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, just. So no, absolutely. All right. So question 5 is this. Is there a book or a game that you always wanted to purchase, but for some reason you can't get it? Like, you know, I know that I see your collection, the things that you post on Instagram, those books are just sick, right? I mean, that is everybody, you know, that collects, like those are their grails that they're going after. But, you know, but for someone who has been able to obtain a lot of those books, is there one that you haven't been able to get?
I have to really think on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good problem to have. I'm just going to tell you, that's a great problem to have.
I've owned so many great comic books. I mean, one that's really hard to get that I would really love a nice copy of would be Morphin 52. Just because that book is so hard to find. And All American 61 is another one that I really love. That great Solomon Grundy. So I really love those two, and they're really hard to find in nice condition. I've only owned a couple copies. So I think those would be my picks for that. And then on games, on video games, it's not so much the game, but the version of it, because there's all these different versions that were released. And I love a first version of Legend of Zelda. I love a first release of Punch-Out. And a sticker hang tab Mario.
No, and those, but I'm going to tell you that the fact that it took you a second to be like, is there something? That's a great problem to have. So that you've been lucky enough to.
It makes me appreciate it too. Like, I've owned a lot of amazing, incredible books. So I'm very fortunate from that side. And I guess we always want more, right? I'd love to have a 9/6 X-Men 1 back. I wish I never sold one years ago. Now I'll likely never pay up for it.
Right. Well, for me, like I am a huge Superman fan. Okay, and Cap too, because I don't know, I got something for the homegrown nice boy. Superman was raised in Kansas, which is it's not similar to here. It's flat there, but it's hilly, but it's small townish. And the first Superman would be probably my ultimate grail as far as like to get a hold of that. And I will get one someday. It just, it's probably going to be after I sell my company. So, but I will eventually
sell it and put it into comics.
That's right. Right. So I love that answer. Those are great. And those are two books that you don't necessarily think about. You know what I'm saying? And then games, because really to me, games have just kind of become, or at least it came into my radar as far as it being a big thing now.
Yeah. Oh, they've really exploded. I mean, it was due. They were too undervalued.
Well, and that was kind of question 6 was, I know that you started posting a lot more video game stuff. Now, are you transitioning from comics to just games, or is games just a new market to explore?
Yeah, I'll never completely be out of comics. It's my first love and introduction into this whole hobby. And I have so many great friends through comics that I can't imagine ever just stepping away and not being involved in comic books. But I have branched out a lot into video games. It's a new market. It's very lucrative right now. It's very personally sentimental to me. And it's like I always equate it to like a new relationship. Like you have your comfort zone and the thing that you've known forever. And then you have like this new relationship where everything is fresh and exciting and new. And the hunt is so much fun because you can't really go and hunt comic books anymore. Like everyone knows what they're worth. Everyone has them priced crazy. It's really hard. The margins have gotten a lot tighter on comic books. And since this is my full-time job, video games has kind of segued into letting us not only go into another market, but have a great year.
Right. No, and I find it interesting because for me, comic books was almost a nostalgia thing, right? Because of my uncle.
Yeah.
And then my dad was all about it too. It was my dad's brother, and Dad would go with us, and he wasn't really into it, but he liked that I was into it because him and his brother were really close.
Something to do together.
Yeah, and it was fun, right? And we'd go out and dig and do all those things. But I've kind of realized now, because I look at it a little differently. There's 1,000 different ways to collect, right? And so I enjoy the hunt. I enjoy, finding good books that are undervalued and maybe flipping them. Not necessarily something I want in my collection, but I've started to learn it's insane. Business is business, right? I don't care if it's comic books or if it's something else. The margins, and then finding that niche, however you say the word, that like games, you found an undervalued something that was, and now you're out there working that. I think that's great.
My problem now I have with all the stuff I have now is I've gone through and I've got rid of the stuff that's maybe not as important or that I want to keep. And now my problem is I'm having a hard time letting go of stuff.
Right.
I need to let go because I need to keep this circle going.
Right. You need to keep the money churning, right? Keep it fresh. Yeah. That's one of the things in starting the YouTube channel for me, and really just kind of jumping in with both feet, is you've got to keep the money churning. And it's hard to do because there are books I like and I want to keep.
Yeah. And my keep is so much bigger. And it's a lot harder now too because there's no conventions. And I do so much buying and so much trading at conventions that it's made it really difficult to kind of turn stuff over as quickly.
Well, that's a great segue to my next question is, how has COVID, for somebody who does this as a day job, how has COVID affected the comic book business? Like, I mean, with the cons, right? I mean, it has become, I mean, one thing is I can do stuff like this. I can interview you.
For sure. And I fully, thank goodness for social media, truly. I mean, without Instagram, without even eBay, but Instagram has been really kind of crucial to the last year. I've grown a ton on my page. I've done a ton of business. I'm on pace to have one of probably our best years we've ever had. And it's because people are looking for other things to put their money into. They're looking for comic books. They're looking for video games because video games are popping up everywhere.
Sure.
And they're not going on vacation. They're not going out to eat as much. So I think people have some extra money. And I never know how to say this without it sounding the wrong way. But a lot of the stuff I sell is high end. And in this market, in this people I deal with, COVID hasn't really affected their income, right? Like they're still making the same money. If anything, they have more money to spend now. So I think that that's why we've seen a lot of prices trending up. We've seen a lot of record sales in the last year. And it's because people are home. So as much as I miss conventions and I miss the trading and buying and selling side of it, Instagram has been amazing for my business.
Well, and you're right, because
all these things.
Well, I've seen that too, and I just got a little tiny eBay store where I sell things, just to kind of flip around. But I've had the biggest year I've ever had on that eBay store. And you've also seen like record sales and trading cards. I mean, there was a LeBron.
Oh my God, trading cards and Pokemon cards are out of control.
Yeah, and there was a LeBron rookie card that sold for like $3 million. I mean, like it was crazy. There was I remember this dude out in Vegas bought this Mike Trout refractor rookie card a few years ago and paid like $1.4 million. He just recently sold it for like $3.4 million.
Wow.
I mean, just like crazy numbers. You're seeing crazy numbers. And no, do you think that this is a bubble burst kind of thing? Do you think that once kind of life goes back to normal?
Every year, every couple of years, we go through all of this hype where people say this bubble's about to burst. This is the end. These prices can't go up. And then guess what?
They do.
A new floor gets set. And then in a couple of years, we have another new ceiling. And I think that there's so much money in these markets right now. Like comic books, video games, art, cards, all of it. There's so much money in it that it almost can't crash all the way because there's too much money in it now.
Well, it's funny. You're right. I look at comic books now, especially, golden age, older books that are really rare and hard to find, as almost an investment. I look at it almost as much as like investing in a stock.
It's a 401k. For sure is. And don't get me wrong. Let me add a disclaimer. I'm not talking like hype books that just came out in the last week that were $4 on the newsstand and now they're selling for $500. That's ridiculous and silly to me. I'm talking like your great key vintage classic books that are honestly timeless.
Right. Me too. And that's what I'm saying. Those kind of books, like there are the modern books, to me, there are some, I like to read them. So there are some that I read, and the ones that kind of hit as far as right out of the gate, they're good for a flip, make some extra money. And to me, you take that money and invest it in something older, something that's more vintage, that they just don't make any more of them. And they didn't make a lot of them when they did.
Right. Well, and if they did, they got destroyed.
Right. Yeah. I know it is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that discussion. Next question, and something that I think a lot of people, because you're right, you have grown a ton on Instagram and you do this for a living full time. So what's a typical day like for the nerdy girl? Like what do you get up at 6 a.m. and you start hustling?
Some days I'm like, I don't want to do anything today. I am so over this. Other days I'm spending the day bagging and boarding books, shipping out a bunch of packages, doing photos. Like it literally never really stops or turns off. I'm toying with the idea. I've been kind of starting to watch videos on how people do claim sales, because I just got a bunch of modern books in and it's not really my thing, but I know that I have a huge base of people that collect modern stuff.
Sure.
So I'm working on putting together my first like real claim sale. Because I think it's easier to do that with books under 1,000. And I feel like they're more successful because there's more people that can spend that.
Sure. And actually Instagram too, you see a lot of it. I mean, because eBay fees are so much higher. Now even eBay has,
oh my gosh, eBay is out of control now. And their new system is so confusing. It's such a pain.
Yep.
So literally so thankful. One day I'll have a website. Everyone always asks me that and I don't.
No, you really should though. Like, I mean, as
I
far
know.
as with the level of business that you're doing, a website would be ideal for you, especially to give a marketplace for people to come to just to get your stuff and
Right.
not have to, you have to, as a seller, you're having to, incorporate those eBay fees into your overall price.
Yeah.
So it would be maybe a little cheaper for the consumer and a
Right.
little easier for you too.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So so every day you're just up and
Responding to
you're,
messages, like, I mean, really, I'm home and I work all the time. Like, there really aren't days off. All the vacations I've ever gone on are always centered around a convention.
right.
Like, I decided once I can fly again, I am taking a week and I am just checking out.
Right.
So I'm responding to messages. I'm throwing stuff up on eBay. I'm doing Instagram posts, doing behind the scenes stuff, organizing. Mystery boxes are coming. So I've been working on building those ahead of time to make my life easier.
So busy. So the typical nerdy girl day is busy.
Yes.
No, when you're self-employed, and people don't realize that, I don't care what you do. When you're self-employed, the hustle never stops. I mean, like you legit.
Never.
I wake up every day about 4 o'clock, and I start, and I probably don't stop till 7, 8 o'clock at night, and then I come home and hang out with my wife and my kids, and then pass out most of the time. And then I've gotten into doing this, so I've incorporated, the YouTube channel into my work schedule. My secretary hates it. She thinks I'm crazy. And when she's getting mystery boxes, like I tell this story, I stepped out of a board meeting one day to order this mystery box. Like I was holding a board meeting for my company. Like I was holding a board. Yeah. And I was like, and I set this alarm. I was like, hold on just 1 second. And I stepped out, and here's the crazy part. I stepped out and I completely screwed up what you were supposed to do.
Oh my God.
And I thought they were going to send me, like, I just claimed a number, but they sent you a code word and then you DM them. And I completely forgot that. So I went in, it was a mess. So, but that's my secretary was like, what is wrong with you? I'm like,
What is going on? Right.
Yeah. You do this once a year. You're going to step out and buy some comic books. I was like, I am. Sorry.
They can't help when it happens.
Right. Yeah. They sell when they sell. You just got to do your thing.
Right.
No. All right. So the next question, and I'm going to kind of combine these because of the questions my daughter wanted to ask, but this will be question 8. What is your favorite thing about the community? And then the second part of that question, is there something about the community that you don't like? And if there is, what could we do to change that?
Okay, I'm going to answer it backwards.
Okay.
I always like to finish on a positive.
Absolutely. Love it.
So I don't always like how judgmental and the barriers that certain people put up. I've recently personally gotten some flack for not reading comic books. I'm not a true collector because I don't read comic books. That doesn't mean anything. I don't need to read a comic book to know why storylines are important or significant. I'm involved in the hobby every day. And what if people are dyslexic and they can't read, but they still want the pop culture and the community? Like, you can't exclude people just because they don't collect the same way as you. So I wish that people would remember that kindness matters and that inclusiveness matters. And I think that that's the one thing that I've noticed, especially is we're all on the internet. There's a lot of keyboard warriors.
Sure.
You have to remember that your words have impacts on people, and you want to make sure you're leaving the right impacts on people, just in life in general, but especially when you have new people, right? We need new people to come to the hobby. That's how the hobby grows. And people are not going to want to come in if there's these huge like hates and barriers that people put up. And the same thing happened in video games, right? Like all these comic book people came in, they started raising the prices on stuff. And old school collectors got really some of them got really upset about it. And for me, I love when new people come in. I love sharing what I know, right? So I guess the other great side about it, the positive, is the people who welcome new people into the hobby. The people who say, okay, here's what I would recommend you do, or here's the knowledge I can share with you so that you have a successful collecting, like as you're growing your hobby or growing your collection. Is that knowledge is power. And my favorite part of this is so much knowledge people have, right? Like I may have one skill set, someone else knows everything about every Fighting Yank that ever came out or every Pep Comics. And I know if I need to know something about a certain series, I can go say, hey, so-and-so, can you tell me about this? Or what do you think this book is worth? There's no data anywhere. I can't find it. Someone's offering me this book, or I just got this book in. How would you price this? And I have people ask me that question all the time. How would you price this? And I try to direct people to resources because there are a lot out there. But on super rare books, sometimes it's hard to find that information.
Sure.
So I would say that the knowledge that this hobby has and just the encouragement that people have, right? Like I love when people cheer for other people.
Yeah, no, one of my favorites, and I haven't experienced that other side yet because I think part of it, probably what happens with you is this jealousy is part of it because of what you have and what you've been able to acquire from the comic book game. That's probably my favorite part too, though. There's such a knowledge base. People understand because I was out of it for a little while, and I'm really kind of relearning some things or picking up some new things. And there's so many people out there as you network out and you get to know people that you're right. There's somebody out there knows. You know, it's the collective consciousness. You can find out anything with the collective consciousness, and I like that too. I think that's a great answer, Danielle.
Yeah.
All right. So question 9. Is if somebody was wanting to get into the collectibles game to make a living, do you have any advice or would you say don't? You know,
I would never tell someone don't, right?
Yeah.
Do what you love and do it with passion. Like, I think that is the biggest thing is to just love what you do. I'll go back to the knowledge side where it's really good to educate yourself so that you're not just jumping in like a fish out of water. Get a GP analysis subscription. Look at the heritage archives, check eBay solds, like know your market, know what kind of profit margins you want to work on. I know one time I think I heard someone say like mortgage your house to start a business. I would never recommend doing that. You should always collect within your means. You should always, and you know what, if it takes you a long time to build up what you have, so be it, but never go into crazy debt on a whim, because if it doesn't work out, you're worse off than you were when you started. So go slow, start with smaller keys if you have to, and just keep growing and building. A great example would be Jesse Simon, who is, I think he's like 17 or 18. I met him at New York last year, and he just literally hustles and grinds, and he's managing to build his business, but he's doing it slowly. He started with a little bit of money. I did the same thing. I do not come from a wealthy background. This is all very organically grown. A lot of it is great timing. A lot of it is amazing opportunities that have crossed our path. But always just be smart about it.
Let me ask this, because the one thing, you know, I've talked about my uncle on here a couple of times, but the thing that he did, he knew what he was selling better than anybody. I mean, like he researched constantly, like he was always reading. If you went anywhere, if he was selling knives, he would have every knife book known to man reading about it and learning about you. I mean, I think I heard in there that having the knowledge base about what you're selling, understanding the profit margin, understanding those are really the keys, right? And to not go crazy, because look, I own a mortgage company. Do not mortgage your house to start a business. Because it's too risky anyway. Really taking the risk to jump out, especially in the collectibles game, is I mean, I feel you there. And as far as, like I said, I think it's about preparation. And I know very little. I just know what I know about business, and then really trying to work it into something here.
It is, right? It's that you have that foundation, and then you just incorporate it into whatever it is you are working on, right?
Right.
Heritage auction archives are amazing because they cover so many different hobbies. They have comics, they have art, they have games, they deal in jewelry, they deal in high-end bags. It's endless, and their archives go back like over a decade. So you can go in there and just see what they've sold, type it in, it'll likely pop up. I think they've even started selling Pokemon cards. I know they've done baseball cards. So just do your research.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice.
Learn about restoration. Go watch some videos. I'm sure there's great videos out there so that you know what you're buying. Know how many pages books have, right? Comics.org is a great resource for that. You can type in any comic book and it'll tell you how many pages it has, all of the stories that are inside of it, like how many pages each stories are. It is such a great resource for things like that.
Cool. That's great information. All right. So question 10, and this is probably the most important question to me. Okay. As far as when I was kind of coming up with questions for you, this is the one that sticks out to me more than any, for me personally. All right. And I've told you I have two daughters, and I'm not going to say that it's hard out there for everybody, but sometimes women can be at a disadvantage. And I want my girls to learn what it is to hustle and grind and how hard it really is, how hard you have to work to make it in this world. And I have used you, and I'm not saying this because you're here. It's just because I follow this stuff and I follow you on Instagram. And when I'm talking to my kids and I'm trying to teach them these life lessons, I have used you as an example of, look, she wasn't rich. She just started with a little bit, but she has hustled and grinded. And look at the books that this lady has. Look at this. This is amazing. And so and this is specifically for the young ladies. I don't know if there are any young ladies that watch my channel outside of my kids, but
I'll be sharing it. So
yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Thank you. So what advice would you give to young women about reaching their goals and their dreams? Like even in the collectible game, but in life in general.
Stay fearless. Never let anyone make you doubt yourself. You have to work twice as hard as men in this world, and that is just the way it is. Never doubt yourself. Never make anyone feel like you are inferior to anyone else, and own your inner badassery, because that is what makes you you. And always be authentic and true to yourself. You have to. That is what draws people to you. That is what makes you who you are. And never apologize for being you. Like, the world is endless.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I know how hard it was for me because I didn't come from anything either. My dad was a coal miner and I didn't come from anything. And what it takes to get out there and hustle and to really, really make it and be successful. And you're right, for women, it can be harder. And I have two daughters and I want them to understand that you can take it. I mean, Danielle, the whole reason I even started the whole reason I started this YouTube channel was one day we were having breakfast and we were talking and I said, well, you all should start a YouTube. They were talking about YouTube channels. I said, well, you should start one. And they were like, no, we couldn't do that. I said, sure you could. You can do, whatever. You like makeup, you like clothes, whatever it is, just get on there and talk about it. Anybody can do it. And they were like, no. And I said, well, I'm going to show you you can. So I started a YouTube channel.
I love it. That's awesome.
And now they're starting, which I make fun of them all the time because they were like making fun of me at first because I was doing it. And now the tables have turned. Their friends want to do collabs with me. That's what they say.
So funny.
I'm no longer sus. Right. And I'm using all these cool words and I have got some drip. What's now. That? Sus is suspect. I'm no longer suspect. Yeah, no, I can fill you in more.
A boomer.
A boomer. I get called a boomer a lot too. Yeah, I'm no longer sus, and I got a little bit of drip.
Hey, that's like swag.
Right. I'm killing it, right? So look, I so appreciate you coming on here, and from someone who is a fan and really appreciates as a father of daughters the example that you set out there for young ladies, just in business in general. I really appreciate it. And I wish you nothing but success and the best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. I've had a ball, guys. As I like to call her, the first lady of comics, Danielle, the nerdy girl. Go follow her. She has a phenomenal Instagram feed. She also has a YouTube channel. She'll get on there and unbox some of her CGC unboxings and her games unboxings. Get on there and check that out. And I don't think you will be sad that you did. So, Danielle, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, guys.
All right, guys. Until next time.